Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Vince, the producer, videoschool.net. You already know, be what you study. I'm a film editor, also a videographer. So today we're just going to talk about Joe Sanchez and what he does, and he's going to give you guys a few pointers about filmmaking, specifically storytelling, to teach you guys a few things about how to go about doing it based on his experience. Alright, so
Welcome to Video School. Be what you study. This is Joe, and I'm here with well, go ahead.
Vince, the producer, Joe.
Vince, the producer. He's about to ask you a couple questions.
Alright, so Joe, what's on your slate for 2014?
Let me clear this up. As a filmmaker, you're also a storyteller. You just tell your stories on a visual platform. Anyway, my slate this year is about 5 projects so far. From those 5, I can say that 2 of them are more than likely going to happen between January and March. The rest, we're still looking for funds.
Alright, so Joe, is there any projects you would like to tell us about that you worked on before?
Right now I have 5 projects in the slate. 2 of them are further ahead than the other 3. One of them is called Wrecked, W-R-E-C-K-E-D, which is probably going to go into production a week after New Year's Eve, or New Year's. The other one is called Secreto Oculto. It's Secreto Oculto, which is a Spanish movie. We're doing an Indiegogo campaign right now with it. We have a couple of named actors attached to it. They're famous in the Latin Spanish community. There's 2 more. There's Season Night, which is the Vegas project. And then there's the Juliet project, which is going to be huge. Which I'm hoping it's going to open a lot of doors for me once we do it. But I got to do it right. And then there's another one that I cannot remember for some reason. But yeah.
And who are some actors, that's playing in it?
Oh, in El Crimen Oculto or El Secreto Oculto? Or which one?
In the movies you listed just now.
Oh, okay. The Spanish one we have Miguel Ángel Rodriguez, which is a big Spanish actor. He worked with give me a second.
Okay.
He worked with Vicente Fernandez. There's another girl that we also have that she's been in a lot of telenovelas. She just moved there from Miami. I cannot remember her name for some reason. Yeah, excited.
Alright, so Joe, since you've been here in LA, what have you learned about the film business and compared to what you have heard?
Well, when I was in Florida, the thing about a union and non-union state is in Florida it's very lenient. There's so many things you can get away with while you're on set that really you cannot do here. Here it's more about SAC contracts. If you're doing a non-union, even a non-union consists of contracts. It's all about the paperwork. If you're doing something on the go, one of the rules that I've heard of, you need permits here for most of the locations you're shooting at, unless from what I understand is you can actually shoot in public if you don't have sticks in the ground. Unless you actually, disturbing your neighbors, then you're gonna get shut down right away. But it really comes down to permits and contracts.
True. Yeah, because we just got kicked off.
Yeah, we just got kicked out of that line. That's amazing stuff.
So, Joe, who have you worked with?
I've worked with a lot of people. One of my biggest influences was, when I first got here, I worked with this gentleman who became my mentor. But I figured that it was best that we parted ways because I figured I needed to find my own way when things got easier. It's nothing personal. I just figured that he had done enough to pull my weight to get me to a certain point, and I appreciate all he did for me. But because of him, I met a lot of. I actually was on my first set here in LA. I worked with Jeremy Landa and I worked with Eric Roberts. A lot of B-movie actors. I've done some shorts. And I've been involved in a couple of things. Well, let me start over. In other words, I produced 2 shorts since I got here, and I've been involved in 4 features. Go ahead.
Okay. And just a word to anybody who's aspiring filmmakers. What's the most important thing you would have to say about filmmaking?
I guess determination, because obviously, if you really want to get down to it, when you get to LA, you realize how many people are doing it. And it becomes very competitive, but nobody's competing actually. They're just doing what they do. People think that you're competing, but you're not competing. You just do what you do, and that's the bottom line. Once it becomes a natural thing, you realize that it is who you are.
Okay. So about contracts. Earlier you mentioned something about contracts, especially in LA. You better know your paperwork, right?
Yeah, you better know your paperwork. Yeah. What about? Oh yeah. Well, I'll give you a tip. Like I said, everything is about contracts. And if you want to know more about contracts, go to the sagaltra.com website. It talks about SAG modified, low budget, ultra low budget, the scales of budgets. Like let's say you have this much money for the project, that falls into this category. If you have more, it falls into this category. It's a very interesting thing because like I said, a lot of filmmakers come from outside. They get to LA, they think, okay, now we can make a movie. Well, you need insurance on top of that. A lot of people know about insurance. Yeah, you need things to be attached before you can even go on day one, before you can even hit the, start rolling on that camera on day one. You need certain things to be already attached before anything else can happen.
Okay. And what about storytelling? What do you think? What do you feel is the most important thing to filmmaking or to filmmaking in terms of storytelling?
I think the most important thing about that's a very vague question because it could be a mix of things. Like if you're telling a story, I would have to say it doesn't have to be linear or non-linear because there's a lot of filmmakers that tell a story and it's not linear. Like let's take Quentin Tarantino for example. Pulp Fiction is a great film, but it's all over the place. It's a story that's not kind of through a linear storyline. I guess it all comes down to the characters and how your characters are portrayed by the actors that you decide, would be perfect for the roles. Then it comes down to performances. So it's really a lot of details that go into telling a good story.
Okay. And so out of all the ways people can
Okay.
out of all the ways people could come up with telling a story, what are some ways that you feel it's most comfortable for you?
Well, I'm not really a technical guy. I'm not a DP. I've learned that throughout my process of development. Because I would say, every time you do a project, you're always learning. A little bit about me. If you IMDb, I am Joe Sanchez. Joe Sanchez. You'll see my name. You'll see that I've done a number of short films before I moved to LA. But overall, I have about 12 to 14 shorts, and a lot of them I did trial by error. I learned what I do when I do. In other words, I learned what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So, shooting my own short films has taught me what exactly I like and don't like as a cinematographer or as a visual person. I think I'm better off with another person shooting my stuff, but there's a short film that I do appreciate that I think a lot of work went into it. It's called Delay Reaction. The writing was good. It was a very dark story. A lot of the acting was performances. I figured that it was well casted. The actors could do what they have to do to tell a story. But the tone of the movie itself, when you see it, you'll see that it's a very dark film. I kept the lights very, very dim. I even made the colors a little darker than usual. And I let the characters come to life, and you'll see once you see it. It's called Delay Reaction.
All right, most definitely gotta check it out, man. And let's see.
That's it, buddy.
Huh?
That's it.
Okay. We gotta follow you now. All right, so Joe, if somebody wanted to, if the people who's viewing this tape want to follow you, where can they follow you?
Well, I'm on Facebook right now, but I also have a like page. You can like me at MJ Presents, www.facebook.com, MJ Presents, or Spanish One Media. I believe it's Spanish One Media. I'll have to look it up. But I go by Joe Sanchez. That's the easiest way to find me on Twitter, Facebook, IMDb. Like my IMDb, like my Twitter. But that's pretty much it. MM Joe, out.